Hi there, Simpli Stuffies. Oh my God, I'm late, but that's okay. This week, I don't think we got a new episode, so I'm on time. I'm going to record this and get it out to you guys before the next new episode of Ready to Love starts. Stay tuned. Hi there, Simpli Stuffies. Welcome back to the Simpli Stacy YouTube channel. I have been a little bit under the weather. I had a cold. Guys, it literally was a cold. I did get a COVID test and it was negative. So just recovering from a regular old cold. It is Thanksgiving week and I'm super excited. But before I go any further, I just want you guys to know that this is a Ready to Love recap, reality recap of episode number 6, Second Shot at Love. I have been under the weather, so I didn't get to get this out to you guys. But I don't think that there was actually a new episode last week. So I think we're on time. Even though this is a week late getting out to you guys, I want to get it to you as soon as possible. Go ahead, subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so that you can always be notified each and every time I post. And definitely don't forget to check out stacyhuddleston.com /shop for any merchandise, Christmas needs, any of those things. Guys, Christmas is right around the corner. And if you're looking for some nice journals and mugs and hoodies and sweatshirts and inspirational, motivational things, definitely check out the Simpli store. Okay, let's get to it. We are on season number 5. They call it season 4, episode number 6, and it is Second Shot at Love. This actually aired November the 12th, so you guys have probably already watched it, come to your own conclusions, but guys, listen, you get to see my take on it all. Okay, so it starts out in the gentleman lounge. The guys actually have the power this week. Nephew Tommy comes in, he welcomes Shawn. Remember, Shawn and Sydney both came last week, and actually, we don't see very much of Sydney, but we do get some Shawn bites here. Okay, they have been doing this process and they are halfway through, which is kind of unheard of if they bring 2 new people halfway through. That must mean, just like me, they're not seeing any real connections forming. Okay, he's basically saying, don't focus on your MVPs this week. Go ahead and talk about that person that you were kind of feeling, but you were focused on someone else. So go ahead and give them a second shot to see if there's anything there. Nadia is going out with Walter. Walter says, that him and Nadia only kind of talk in passing, but he thought he would give her a chance. We know that Sabrina is one of his top people, and he has also gone on a date with Mumi. Okay, they're getting a pedicure. They're doing a little joking. They have a little banter going back and forth, talking about, a little jokey Joan in each other's feet, who got the longest feet, who got the biggest feet, and all that stuff. It was cute. It looks like they both took it in stride. Nobody got too offended. And she basically gets down to the bottom of it. She asks him, does he want to, have children again, be married again? He does open up to her about being widowed. And he definitely says, basically what it's all about to him is to have his own family and have those traditions and, go on fishing trips and things of that nature. And she definitely says, oh, my family actually has, a yearly thing we do around the first week of July. He's like, oh yeah, that sounds really cool. They actually have a lot in common. He does say that, he went back to how he was dating at the age of 19 after his wife passed, because I guess that was the last time he was single. And he was just out here, but he's come back around and now he wants to focus on family. He did say while he was married to his wife, he did have, I think, a cousin or a friend, one of his good friends come up to him and say, man, you don't want to mess this up. You need to get it together. So he's not a player anymore, it sounds like. Okay. And he basically says, the men don't choose the women choose. And I think I'm going to be honest. I think the men do choose, but the woman also has a choice in the matter. You don't just get chose and decide to just go just because the man chose you, but you choose them back as well, because he can choose all he wants. And if you don't want him, then it's not going to be a thing. Okay, they want to hang out again. So it was a cool little date. I don't see no super duper sparks flying or no couples being mad. Okay, next up is Shawn and Sabrina. So Shawn is a new guy. He's an actor / entrepreneur. He is 44, I believe. And then Sabrina, remember, she's the oldest woman, I believe, 42. She's a fashion designer. And she is Korean and Black. And it's so funny because they're like this, I believe, Korean restaurant. And she's like trying to teach him how to say you're all beautiful or very beautiful in Korean. But it was so funny because the first time Tyrone, who was eliminated last week, by the way, tried to like impress her and talk to her, he started speaking Korean from his army days, and he was stationed in Korea, and she was looking at him crazy like, I don't know no Korean, but she tried to teach Shawn Korean. So I thought that was extra funny because I was like, you just were interested in Tyrone, even though they say they did come up with a connection that we never saw on camera, but I guess on the phone and stuff they did have some kind of connection. But anyway, yeah, so she's trying to teach him how to tell her that she's beautiful. They're like playing these like chopstick games. She's trying to show him how to use them. It was actually a cute, fun date. I was like, okay, I could kind of see this here thing. Now, remember when he went out with Aisha last week? She said she didn't want to have any more children, and he did. And so that kind of was like the end of the road. Same scenario here. He does ask Sabrina, does she want more kids? Because she talked about her 8-year-old daughter, and she said no. But it seems like he may have more of a fondness to her than he did Aisha, because he's actually sort of kind of considering, he was like, well, maybe I haven't thought about it. Maybe a person that could be enough for you. And I guess he wouldn't not have children. He wouldn't have his own biological children, but he would have her 8-year-old daughter, who is still rather young, and that I guess he can be in her life, which I think Aisha's kids were 12 or 13. So same thing. They were young too. But it seems like he likes Sabrina. He said that he does want to kind of give it a try. He wants to go on another day with her. He does allude, though, that in the past, he's just kind of been a go with the flow kind of guy. And, he really wasn't giving into what he wanted. So I think he was going with the flow with people who didn't want kids. But he did, and it just never worked out, which I think it could be that way all around again. And I think he probably is. He said he was a waster of time, but he doesn't want to be that anymore. But then he asked Sabrina on a date. So, again, I don't see it. But I also don't see it with Sabrina and Walter, because Walter has told Mumi he wants kids. I believe he brought it up to maybe Tasia back in the day at the early mixer. And so I do think Walter actually wants kids. He brought it up to Nadia and Mumi. And so Sabrina definitely does not. So I don't know if he wants his biological, or could he be okay with Sabrina's 8-year-old daughter as well, or have they even had that conversation? But I will say that there was definitely chemistry between Shawn and Sabrina. Okay, next up is Phil and Aisha. So remember when she had that accident, she didn't make it to the ladies' lounge? Well, Phil actually... I think Mumi said Phil went to go meet her. So we knew that they had been kind of communicating off camera. This is our first time seeing them on camera together. So I'm like, okay, let's see what this connection looks like, because it does seem like they have been communicating off camera. So he's such a gentleman. He puts a chair out for her. Basically, he checked on her after her accident, and he's asking, he gets down to it too. Like, do you want kids? Because Phil is 37. Remember, he has no children, but he does want children. And again, she says that her and Phil have had really deep conversations, and she has shared some things with her that she hasn't shared with other people. And so she feels like in this moment, it's time for her to open up. And so she actually explains, she tells him that I tell people all the time that I don't want children. But the reason that I tell them that is because I almost lost both of my children when I was carrying them. And I don't carry children well. And so she doesn't want to fail her new husband or her next husband by not being able to carry his children. It was such a, a strain on her, previous marriage, and on her body, and on her, mental that it's easier to say, I don't want any more children. And she said she's also miscarried before. So that is her first time opening up about it. Before, it's just like, no, I want to be out here on the beach. I want to be out here. That's what she kind of told Shawn. And maybe that's kind of where Shawn went left. Was like, oh, you just done. You try not to even want to raise kids. You just want to be out here flown out and stuff like that. Because she kind of joked about it. Whereas I guess when he was talking to Sabrina, she just was like, no, I don't. But, my daughter is my life. Like, I still want to do those family things. And so maybe that's kind of where the disconnect was. But she definitely opens up to Phil. She's crying. He comes over and comforts her. She appreciates that. He likes that she opened up to him. And he's like, basically, how can you not like somebody more who, opens up to you and trusts you in that way? He says she's opened up to him about other things. So it seems like they actually do have this really good chemistry and bond. And I guess maybe she isn't saying she doesn't want any more kids. She just doesn't think she can have them. And I guess if he's willing to go through that ride with her, she may be willing to do that for him. She didn't say that in so many words, but I guess her opening up could definitely mean that. Or maybe he's okay with a surrogate or adopting. So there's other options on the table for sure if they definitely hit it off. Okay, next up is Naim and Camille. Okay, so let's go back 1 second to Phil and Aisha. So Phil's main girl is Shiloh, because remember, these are the second acts. So Naim and Camille, because Naim likes Nadia. Camille, Lord, nobody else but Cornelius likes Camille. And when I say this girl was not the best date at all, she was so rude. She has these facial expressions. Remember last week she blew up on Cornelius, calling him basically a dumbass, hillbilly ass for smiling all in the new girl face or whatever when they were just having a conversation. She did apologize for that. She also apologized on social media to everybody, and I think everybody has accepted her apology. Anyway, they're still in the midst of this date, and Naim is like, she seems to be all over Cornelius. Wasn't really trying to give me a try, but let's see how this thing goes. And when I say, when people write down their worst date, this is definitely probably one. She was asking him, like, okay, I got a son, and what would you be in his life? And he's like, first of all, I'm trying to figure out if I like you. But anyway, like, I would be like, I wouldn't want him to call me Mr. whatever his last name was. So she was like, he would call you Mr. Naim, or whatever. And he's like, well, okay. But it kind of came off like, I don't know, but it was just too much too soon, especially when she knows she don't even like this man. She was asking him how much he makes. It is 6 figures, right? He's like, what? He's like, basically, she having a whole conversation with herself, because I'm not even answering these questions for her. Like, she was all in his business, not even trying to get to know him as a person. And he was like, well, I'm just trying to get to know you first before we start talking about the kid, before we start talking about, any of that other thing. It's okay to say, I have a child. Was that something you'd be comfortable with? But she was like trying to put him already in her life, like plug and play. And he's like, no, I'm not really having it. She having a conversation by herself. He was like, basically, she crazy. Y'all, let me know what y'all think about Camille and their date they had, because I definitely wasn't feeling it. You could tell she didn't want to be there. She didn't put forth any effort. And I'm thinking her time is up, like legit up. Okay, so the next day, it is a foursome. It is Dante, Sabrina, Frank, and Mumi. So Frank likes Aisha, and Dante actually likes Shiloh and Nadia. But they're taking Sabrina and Mumi out, and they're playing golf, and it looks like a really fun day. They're all having a good time. First, it looks like Dante is like assisting Mumi with her swing and all this stuff. So Mumi's like, okay, Dante is, paying me attention and all of this. And all of a sudden, I guess Sabrina was not feeling Frank at all. So she goes and grabs Dante and was like, hey, let's go get a drink. He like, what? And she was like, no, you, me, let's go get a drink. So leaving Frank and Mumi to talk and have a conversation. And I thought that was kind of funny. But Dante was a tall one. Frank is kind of short. Sabrina's really tall. I'm thinking she wasn't feeling Frank at all. So she was like, if we're going to do something on this day, it's going to be with you. So Mumi and Dante, that was the end of them. Frank and Mumi actually sit down and have a conversation, and Frank brings up this. Now, I don't know if I've heard this before this date, but he brings up that Mumi is saving herself for marriage. She's abstinent. And, you know, he wants to know if it's about her faith, and he respects it and all of that, but he is a very sexual person. And she's like, you know, thank you for being honest with me, because some guys, I guess, wouldn't be that way. They would just pretend or whatever. He didn't say that he was opposed to it, but he does say, you know, maybe she's someone that he could get to know. I think they have a good time. They have chemistry. They're feeding each other and laughing, and they said that there may actually be a connection, and it may change the sexual side of him. That is what he leaves that day with. Sabrina and Dante, he's like, hey, I've been trying to get to know more about you. And she was like, okay, well, that's what we're here for. We having this conversation. He talks about him having 3 children. Well, I think 2 children's mom, 2 or 3, I can't remember. And it seems like he feels that Sabrina was empathetic with him. She was saying that how her daughter's father is not there. He hasn't been in her life. And it seemed like they bond. She didn't really judge him based on the fact that he has, you know, several baby mamas and kids. And he liked that. He really did like that. So there's that. I still don't see no super sparks flying between any of these couples. Okay, next up was Shawn and Tasia. Tasia? I cannot remember how to say this lady's name. But y'all know who I'm talking about. She's a curvaceous one. She's so cute. Okay, so she has not made any connections thus far. I think she said Phil last week a little bit, but they didn't go on a real date. They just had a little conversation at a little mixer. Anyway, or at the pool party. So anyway, they go on a date, and Shawn is the new guy again. She's younger. She's in her 30s. She's not the youngest, because Courtney who went home. Courtney who went home. Okay. Yeah, I think Courtney is the youngest, who is 30. But Tasia, I believe, is in her 30s. And then Shawn is 44. And basically, they start talking about religion and being from the South. And, you know, how they grew up and being in church. And she asked him if he wants kids. And he was like, definitely. She's like, okay, because my clock is ticking. So I'm like, finally, Shawn. The heavens have opened, so the angels are singing, and maybe this is your match. And he says she gets him like, you know, Jill Scott vibes. She's golly, family oriented. She's like, well, you know, I'm a pretty young thing. How you feel about that? We in 2 different generations. And he was like, I don't have a problem with it. It definitely seems like they're hitting it off. And he likes her personality, whereas the other guys were kind of turned off or got friend vibes from her. He really likes her. So I was like, okay. We finally got a winner. Okay, next up is Cornelius and Courtney. Now, remember, Cornelius liked Courtney and Camille, but Camille was like stronger. And I think they went on a date initially, a double date with Walter and the 3 of them. And they asked about like saving themselves for marriage, because that's what Cornelius is doing. Apparently, Camille is doing that as well. And Courtney was like, no, I gotta have sex before marriage. And I think Walter said the same thing. So I think that kind of like pushed Cornelius off of Courtney, and then they had another double date with Corey, and he was all over Courtney, so he never really got a chance to like pursue that. They're at a rum tasting. I think she planned the day, and she said she thinks like he will like this and all this stuff. So he says initially that was a red flag for him when she said that she had to have sex before marriage, and basically he says she's a little younger, and he wanted to know if she got it all out of her system. She's very flirty. He's talking about, again, him wanting to abstain until marriage from sex. And when I say she was overtly throwing it on, and Tom's like, this gonna be hard, and rubbing his leg and caressing him, and I'm understanding that physical touch is probably her love language, but it's like she is not reading the room. He is not putting that out, and although he's not like saying stop, he's uncomfortable. And I just don't think Courtney is doing herself a service, but who knows, because he might be into it. And she basically like, well, you just tell me if you want to like ride the bench or you want to win the championship. Like, so she's just laying it on super duper thick. Next up is the Gentleman's Lounge. Okay, so we all here. We ought to find out how these second acts went. Tommy want to know. Walter says Nadia, he can actually see why people like her because you know that Dante likes her, Naim likes her. He says she's quick-witted, but he still does like Sabrina. Phil again says Aisha, you know, they dug deeper. She moved up his list some, but Shiloh is still at the top. Shawn says he went on a date with Sabrina and Tasia, and he does like both of them. He says, but you know, he does kind of want kids, and Sabrina does not. Tasia does. So, in my mind, she will be at the top of his list, but I think he really is feeling Sabrina more. That's just my personal opinion. Next up is Dante. He says he did go on a date with Sabrina and Mumi. Sabrina has moved up his list, but he still likes Shiloh and Nadia. Frank says Mumi, he does like her. So this is my thing. I think these second acts were kind of a waste of time halfway through the process because what we found out is none of these men actually started choosing their second acts over their first choices. But I guess it gives them another play if something happens, you know, because all these women like multiple men and all that stuff. But other than that, it didn't like move people's relationships further along, except for maybe Shawn, but this was only his second week, so of course he was going to go out with other people. But I think they could have been building stronger connections with the people that were their tops. But that's just my opinion. But like I said, maybe so at the end, it's not like one or none. You still got a second choice. Okay, now he goes to like, who y'all not feeling? So Cornelius said he is not feeling Courtney, which I was like, she is rubbing it on too strong. He said she's like a party girl. He could tell she's younger. It was just too strong and there's no potential there at all. I don't think she left that day feeling that way, but honey, I feel so sorry for her. Corey is gone from last week and now baby boo, you might be gone too. Okay, Frank and Walter both said Courtney as well. Walter says Aisha for him, and then Phil says Sabrina because they just never really clicked. Naim, and I think it's again that kid thing again, and Phil just went her type. Naim says Camille is too intense, he doesn't like it, and she's not approachable. Of course, Cornelius is looking crazy because he said Camille is still his top. Dante says Tasia, friend vibes. Shawn says Camille, and Dante also. So basically, it comes down to the eliminations, and there are two girls in the bottom. Walter takes Courtney out, and Dante takes Camille out. So basically, let me tell y'all, Camille knew what the heck this was. She was like, I'm not interested in Dante. She went to eat. She making all these facial expressions. She like, could you just carry this along? Because I got somewhere I need to be. This definitely could have been a Zoom call. Like, rude to like the 10th power. She was so freaking rude. And I'm like, girl, you lucky Cornelius liked you number one. Because the only thing I can see here is that Courtney didn't have anybody that picked her number one, but somebody that definitely put him at her at the bottom. So Walter's talking to Courtney, and basically he says, she said, oh, I'm so excited to be here. Like, I've always wanted to go on a date, but I think she does not know what this is all about. He basically just gets to it and says, you know, a lot of the men said they haven't made a connection with you. They're getting homie vibes like I went on a double date with you with Cornelius and Camille. And both of y'all was checking for Cornelius. And I'm like, why am I even on a date? And she was like, dang, you know what? You're right. And basically he lets her know that Courtney, baby girl, you are not ready to love. She was eliminated. She was so sad, and she was definitely not ready to go. Now, we don't know if two women are going home because two men went home last week, Tyrone and Corey. So Dante is talking to Camille, and like I said, she was super rude. He says, how do you think your process has been dating 10 guys? She said, I have not been dating 10 guys. I've dated who I thought I needed to talk to. And basically, he does this long pause and says, we have deliberated and we feel like you are, long pause, still ready to love. And she was like, I didn't appreciate that long pause. And I was going to say, okay, you can go, whatever. Like, she was still being extra rude. And I'm like, girl, you are only here because Cornelius put you at the top. So pump your brakes and get it together, because everybody else thinks you're crazy. And I don't know how long Cornelius can keep you here. But anyway, if she go, I guess he go, because he got rid of Courtney. But yes, guys, that is the end. I can't wait to see next week. They are going to have their friends come. And it's a little bit feels like, I think he goes to meet Aisha's friends, to her girlfriends. And he was like, they did not want me to be comfortable in that room. And you know what, guys? I understand friends grilling guys. But I think that sometimes it gets to be a little bit too much when you're grilling them based on stuff that they've experienced in past relationships, because these people are different people. So just get to know who they are, see if they're genuine, see if they're kind, see what their intentions are, without like berating them and like kind of interrogating. But we'll see how it goes. I just saw some clips. Y'all let me know what y'all thought of this week's episode. I really don't see anybody but Camille and Cornelius as, I guess, a couple. And then I like Naim and Nadia as well. But Nadia seemed like she got her cards in play for other people. But let me know what you guys think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one. Until next time, see you.